right? So then if they have an objection, I spend 3 to 5 minutes overcoming it, and then I go through the app. But I have all of that information before I'm starting an app.
Money.
That's my way. It might not work for everyone, and I had to work on tonality and the way that I presented myself throughout the call to be able to do that as well.
Guys, that was a magic Mourssali morsel, as Alex Peraza just dropped. That was fantastic.
Hi, everybody. Grady Polson. Welcome to the America Agency.
So, all right. So you've got your appointments. Now let's jump into the words. What are the magic Mourssali? I forgot a word of them. Messages that are coming out of you that are helping the clients feel comfortable and move forward. So how do you, hypothetically, it's a booked appointment. Let's just make it as normal as possible. What are you doing?
Dude, I wish I had some special sauce to give you, but it's going to sound like everyone else. So, hey, Grady, this is Riad giving you a call regarding that IUL request you sent in on Facebook. Looks like you put your primary goal as tax-free retirement. Is that correct? Okay, cool. So just so I have an idea of where you're at with the IULs, have you seen any videos? What else do you know about them? Right? And I'm just letting them talk. I want to know what they know. And then I ask, hey, have you talked to anyone else about the IULs? Have you seen any illustrations? I want to know if they're shopping around, if they've talked to other people. That way I can get ahead of that objection later on. Once I get that information from them, I set the table. This is something we should all do. You need to let them know exactly what you're going to do on the call. I just say, hey, I sent you my credibility website. It's got all my licenses on there. Hopefully you had a chance to review it, but I'm a broker and an underwriter. I work with all the A-rated carriers that offer the different products like the IUL. And my job is basically just to be the eyes and ears for them. So I'm going to go through their questionnaire with you today. You can't just buy this. You do have to qualify for it. So they look at your health. They're going to look at your background, so like driving and criminal record, and then they're going to look at your income. They don't run any credit checks or anything like that, but they do want to make sure that this is actually going to help you. It's not going to hurt you in any way. So once we have that information, then we're going to talk about your goals and what you're looking to contribute into this. And then if everything makes sense, the only thing that we can do today is submit an application to see if you can get approved. Does that sound fair? And then I move on to, in my opinion, the most important part of the call, which is the eligibility sheet, where we find out their health, their income, their beneficiaries. That's where I build my why, which is extremely important, which I think a lot of people get off of. That's what differentiates a transactional sale from an actual emotional sale, and people do buy off emotion. So I don't get many think about it, or the only thing that I'll get occasionally is the banking objection. But
do you use Crankwheel or Zoom for that when you're not asking for it, they're asking for it?
Yep. I have a different way of doing it that I switched actually probably 3 months ago is, yeah, absolutely. So, and the funny thing is I tried this a couple years ago and it did not work for me. So I went back. So I'm big on trying things to just get better. But I used to do it in the app. I would do it like it's a question, right? What's your where were you born? What's your address? Best email address for you? What's your social? Right? Just like it's another question on the app. And I would do the same with the banking. Recently, I switched to before I do the app, just because I want to be efficient with my time. I'll say, hey, Grady, I'm going to get the application started for you. They're going to need 3 things from you. First thing is your driver's license. They're going to do a motor vehicle check on you, make sure you don't have a bunch of DUIs, speeding tickets in the last month or so. So go ahead and grab that for me. The next thing they're going to do is a MIB check. They're going to basically contact the Medical Information Bureau to look at all your medical records, make sure there's something that won't prevent you from qualifying. So I'm going to need your social. Grab that for me. And then the third thing is for your protection and the insurance carrier's protection. They're going to validate you as the payor on this to make sure no one's trying to do any insurance fraud in your name. There's no money laundering or funding of any terrorists going on. You cannot pay for anything today, but they are going to need your routing and account number. They're going to match it to your name and your social, and I'll get the application started. Go ahead and grab those 3 things for me. Right? I'm just very direct, and I have that tone with everyone. I'm not being timid when I'm asking that. It's just part of the process. And like, I was doing fine before by asking in the app, but the 30% of the time that I was getting an objection when I've gone 15 minutes into an app was really irritating me. So I'm like, no, I'm going to get ahead of it. Right. So then if they have an objection, I spend 3 to 5 minutes overcoming it, and then I go through the app. But I have all of that information before I'm starting an app.
Money.
That's my way. It might not work for everyone. And I had to work on tonality and the way that I presented myself throughout the call to be able to do that as well.
Guys, that was a magic Mourssali morsel, as Alex Peraza just dropped. That was fantastic. So please, if you're watching on YouTube, rewind and write that down, and then drop a that was awesome, or go Riad in the chat below, and I'll let him know you guys appreciate him. Driver's license, MIB to do social security number, and then validate you as the payer. I got to watch it a few times and write it up. Dude, that was so good. Checking for terrorism. That was
Patriot Act, right? You can always blame it on that. So
okay, that was awesome. Let's back up a tiny bit to the eligibility sheet where you're talking about, I'm going to do 2 minutes of health, whatever. You said health, income, and why. How are you digging into the why and getting them so bought into then getting to the app, right? I make your emotional sale versus a transactional sale. What are you doing in there?
Yeah, so first, think of the 3 parts that an IUL, if they can qualify for an IUL, will take care of, right? You have a death benefit, leaves money behind. It's going to take care of stuff like final expenses, mortgage. It's going to be income replacement, right? So I'm going to build it that way by asking if they have a mortgage, if they have a significant other or kids that they are, taking care of through their income. And I'm going to point that out to them throughout the call. Like, hey, if you die tomorrow, and you're not able to qualify for this IUL, it looks like you're bringing in $5,000 a month, and Mary, stay-at-home mom. What does Mary do at that point? Right? And I'm letting them sell me. That's how these calls should go. You let them sell you on why they need it, right? And that's going to help persistency as well. So I'll do that. I ask them, hey, if you get sick tomorrow, you have a heart attack or stroke, or you get diagnosed with cancer, now you can't go to work. What do you do? What's your plan? You're the only one bringing in income for you and your kids, or you and your wife, right? And then I go into cash accumulation. I ask them, hey, what do you have for retirement right now? Most people don't, or they've had to empty it out because of tough times. So I point that out. So we're just getting started on retirement, it sounds like. Okay, makes total sense why you're looking into this, right? And then when I'm going through the illustration, I'm going to point out all of those things that I pulled from my eligibility portion of the call, and I'm going to frame it for them on how the IUL is going to plug all of those holes. So, and I think in the beginning too, when I first started doing IULs, and I've heard a lot of people, they say, hey, we don't really sell on the life insurance and the living benefits. To me, that doesn't make sense. Why would I not want to sell on 3 things that have a lot of value for a family? So that's how I personally do it. Obviously, if someone's very focused on cash accumulation and that's what they want to talk about it, I'll put more of the focus there, but I'm still going to talk about what the death benefit will do for them and what the living benefits will do for them.
Of course. I mean, that's the reason they're paying in the 2 buckets, right? They got the life insurance cost, which is part of it, and then you've got your cash accumulation, which allows you to take tax-free retirement loans later in life. All has merit, because then they're going to second guess, well, why don't I put more in my 401k? Why don't I save it into the market? You've got options, but this is the only one sanctioned by the government that if you put money in this, it's got the death benefit, the incredible living benefits if you get sick, and then the money that you take out of down the road comes out tax-free. Tax-free. Yep. So yeah, dude, I mean, I love it. So you're hitting on those 3 points, and then you're asking does that make sense? What questions do you have? How are you getting to a number? Is it income based and you're going to take 10%? Are you doing fourth? What is your philosophy for presenting numbers?
Good question. So I asked them what they do for work. I asked them what they bring in monthly, just a ballpark number of what you bring in monthly. And then, and I do go over like what they have I asked the golden question. What do you have that acts like life insurance, 401k, IRA, all that stuff? I asked what they have for life insurance. But when I get down to like budget wise, I ask them, hey, after you pay your mortgage, you pay your utilities, your reoccurring Netflixes, Hulus, your gas, groceries, eating out, fun stuff, travel, date nights, whatever you spend in a month out of your income, what are you left with? What are you saving? And then I get that number from them. So let's just say someone makes, $6,000 a month and they're left with 1,000. Then I dig even deeper. So, hey, on your worst month where everything is going wrong, you got a flat tire, your refrigerator went out, your AC went out, whatever, and you had to shell out money for that. What are you left with then? I'm left with probably like $400. So now I know I need to be within that range because stuff is going to happen in life. So I found out that I had them verbally say, hey, like I would be left with this amount. I would be comfortable with this amount as a contribution, right? I'm not picking the contribution for them. They're telling me through me asking questions. And then once I have that, when I'm in the illustration, I really only show like 4 pages of the illustration. So I keep it very simple. I'm not going to go into participation rates and all the fancy stuff. I'm going to talk about the death benefit. Go ahead.
I was wondering about carriers. Do you have a blend of carriers? Your good, your best, better, good? Like you kind of.
Yeah, that's another thing that I learned in the first 2 months of doing this. So I was putting all my business into NLG, and I'm like, this is awesome. This company's great. And they are great. Don't get me wrong. But from someone that's been doing almost 4 years of simplified issue, and I'm big on duplication, I'm having to wait a month to get paid. It's impossible for a brand new agent to be doing that, and they shouldn't, right? So I want to do what's duplicatable. So I went back to simplified issue. Awesome. I'm doing Mutual of Omaha, IUL, Americo, Ethos, until NLG and F&G get some sort of a simplified issue. That's where I'm putting more of my business. Now, if it doesn't make sense, because it has to make sense for the client, if they don't care about insurance, they have enough or whatever, and they want to do cash accumulation only, you have to do it that way, right? So that's how we're training on it. I'm going to NLG. But to me, it doesn't make sense for someone that wants to do $300 a month and they like the insurance and the living benefits for me to wait, a month or more for them to get approved and for me to get paid.
Plus, the strictness of an NLG is going to be more so than a MU or an Americo, which is the beauty of the simplified issue product model, which is clients fill out forms because they want insurance. They don't fill out insurance forms because they want to wait months to find if they can get insurance. Mm-hmm. So that's our plot. That's why we're going to do $800-900 million of life insurance sales, because we satisfy clients' urgent needs. The number one product in America is convenience. And that's what we offer. We offer convenience and speed. When we get it done, client gets covered, they're happy, they move on, they sleep at night well, and we get compensated for making that all happen. So, awesome.
Yeah, and I just
where were we before I jumped in there? You were talking about carriers, but yeah.
So I go through maybe 4 pages. I point out the life insurance portion, usually first, because that's where it ends up on the page. And I'll, like I said, tie it into what they told me in the call. So, hey, if you die tomorrow, this is going to go to Mary and the kids. They can take care of all of your final expenses, take care of the mortgage, supplement your income for a while. So it's going to be their basically life vest, right? And then you have living benefits. So that's if you have any sort of critical, chronic, terminal illness, any of that stuff happens to you, you're probably not going to work to earn an income. So you'll be able to pull out of that death benefit tax-free. Does that all make sense so far? And I'll kind of tie that around. So if you can't work tomorrow, Mary's not working, that way she doesn't have to go get a job and take care of everything. You guys will have some income until you have time to figure out what to do. And then I move to the cash accumulation. I actually go to the page that shows the market and the index, how it works. And usually they either have like 20 or 25 years of the market. I'll say, hey, so this is exactly how it works. You know what the S&P 500 is? No, it's just the top 500 companies. It's basically a stock they use. So in 2006, and I'll highlight it on, because I have them on Crankwheel. I do everything on Crankwheel. I'll highlight it. Hey, how much was the market up? It was up this amount. Okay, cool. On the right-hand side, how much was it up for the IUL? It was up whatever amount. Okay, remember 2008 when the market crashed and people lost almost half of their retirement? They were foreclosing on homes. How much was the market down? 38%. Everyone that had an IUL, how much were they down? 0. And that's literally like the seller right there. You show them that. So you're protected from market loss, right? Your money's not in the market, it's in an index fund. So then I go down to, this is really important because I do a lot of simplified issue. I go down to the guideline premiums because I want them to understand that they need to put some extra money into this to meet their goals. I don't want it like lapsing on them in year 20 and they have no clue about it. So I kind of go over that with them. Hey, we're just getting your foot in the door. You said you could only do 100, 200, 300 a month. You told me you want to retire by this age. You are buying insurance as well. So you do need to put some extra money in this. So whenever you get a bonus at work, you tax return, maybe you sell something or you pay off your car. I've had a lot of people this year pay off their car and they wanted to add more instead of just acting like they have an extra 400 a month. Go ahead and put that into your IUL. This is how much you can do per year. And I'll point that out to them. Any questions? No? Okay, cool. And then the last page is totally dependent on the person. That's where they show the breakdown of the numbers year by year. If I feel like the person is going to get lost in that, I don't go through it. If I feel like they're with it and they're paying attention and they'll understand it, then I'll go through it, right? So it totally depends on the person. But then once I go through that, does that all make sense? Do you have any questions? Okay, perfect. Did you want to stick with the 300 or did you want me to adjust it now that you've seen how it works? Stick with it. Okay, cool. I'll get the application started. The insurance company is going to need 3 things from you. And that's when I go into the close.
Fantastic, Riad. Just an absolute masterclass on how to set the table, dig out the why, bring it back a few times, educate, solidify the why, clarify your position with the questions to get the app started. Riad, just absolutely fantastic. What's some final send-off advice you've got to all these agents out there that are looking at you going, I'm ready to pay the price. He's so well spoken, so handsome, and all the but what would be some advice that you'd have from them as we're closing out this call?
I think the biggest thing, and I've learned this, I recently partnered with Desiree Bloss. She's awesome, by the way. We're doing everything together, all our training. I used to only do a couple trainings per week. We're doing 5 per week, hour-long trainings with our team. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is people think they're doing a lot more than they're actually doing. So we are big on tracking our KPIs. So a few weeks ago, we made a KPI channel on our Discord for people to drop their numbers, dials, leads bought, appointments booked, presentations, applications submitted, stuff like that. And like 3 weeks ago, we were seeing like 80 dials, 120 dials. I think maybe the highest was like 150. And every single call, we are going over the most important thing in this business is leads and dials. All the training is awesome. This training is awesome. Hopefully I'm providing value, but this is not the most important thing. The most important thing is you have clients to talk to and consistent. You don't just buy a lead batch and dial it for a month. And you're also putting in the amount of activity that is required. So we talk about our KPIs every single day on our training. We shout people out. And what I've noticed is since we started doing that a few weeks ago, people are at 400 dials, 450, 300, 275. Everyone's numbers have jumped significantly. And that is, I think, the most the easiest way for anyone that is not where they want to be or doesn't have the skill set yet, just put in a ton of work. That's all I did in the beginning. My 8:30 to 9:30 was 800 to 1,000 dials. I did that for months. It's not because I'm special that I got good at it. It's because I did so much activity. It just naturally, like I learned all the ins and outs of everything, right? So that's the most important nugget that I can give you guys. If you do not track your stuff and you're not dialing 300, 400, 500, 600 dials a day, it's going to be very hard for you to get to that, 30K producer that you want to be. That's what separates. Like, even the people that are way above me, I know why they're above me. They're putting in more activity. And that's all it is. So that's, I think, the most important thing.
Amen, brother. Riad, absolute, just perfect call. Thank you so much for all you shared, all you know, and for sharing all you know and how great this was. I'm so excited for you. Riad's a champion, guys. If you're looking for someone to follow, check him out on social media. He's sharing tips on there as well, and just working on building a team as well. So a lot of huge momentum coming. I can't wait to see. Can't wait to see you on stage at Ignite, and we're gonna have more fun. But dude, absolutely epic. Everyone, drop a RM4 in the chat below to cheer Riad on for his 4-time Hall of Fame run, or his gold jacket run. We're gonna just keep cheering. We're gonna just cheer you on, bro. But Riad, thank you, brother. I appreciate the heck out of you. So excited to see how you continue to crush here now and in the future.